Yo, what's going on? Chavo Guerrero Jr. here, giving a big shout out to Wrestling Rehab. Keep watching, keep listening, and viva la raza.
Órale. Órale, Cholo Trucker here, Wrestling Rehab. Shouts to all the junkies. Let me go ahead and put that up. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm a little bit late, Spencer. I was supposed to have somebody jump on. I don't know. That's probably not gonna work out. So just rocking solo now. I understand some pretty big news broke down today. I'm going to stay away from it because that deserves a video on its own. So if I don't speak on it here, it's not because I don't know about it. It's not because I don't respect the man. It's because I actually respect him, that he deserves a video all to himself as opposed to just, hey, let me just mention it. So I'm going to leave that be. And we're going to just stick to the subject at hand. So check this out, man. Managers have been a part of wrestling for quite a while. I was looking into the history, but you know what? In all reality, man, especially when it comes to like the females, that did not come as a to everything that I'm reading. That was a little bit rare until we hit like the late 80s into the 90s, which to me that's pretty freedom at homes, because that means I was actually watching history happen. I didn't really know it at the time. I had kind of thought that, hey, women were all over the place as managers. Now, for those who don't know, I don't really think they, refer to lady managers as valettes anymore. But I remember when they would call them valettes, and it wasn't huge or anything like that. That was probably I heard that a little bit here and there. But I want to go ahead and read a little bit here. Let me see. Let's see if I can read up on a little bit history here. Okay. Performers who assumed the manager role may be non-wrestler, occasional wrestlers, older wrestlers who have retired or are nearing retirement. And you know what? That's true. That's very true, because we're gonna get into some of the managers moving forward. The tag team partner of the wrestler they are managing, or new wrestlers who are breaking into the business or a specific company, and need experience in front of the crowds. That's kind of like what I saw. Whenever you had or have talent that's not really good in front of the mic, but they could definitely perform. It's kind of good to team them up with a manager. Now, managers, in my opinion, managers need to be good on the mic. Now, are there some managers that aren't really that good on the mic? Oh yeah, and we're gonna get to some of those. Let me see. The wrestler who is paired with a manager may be referred to as their charge, client, or ward. A professional wrestling manager's portrayal as a wrestler's decision maker is usually fictional and has nothing to do with a wrestler or promotion's real world counterpart or road agent. I didn't need to read that last part because I despise that. Chale, homie. Chales, dog. The manager has everything to do. They are their road agent. They are everything. All right. I'm just trying to keep the kayfabe here, man. So, I have a list here of some of the top greatest managers of all time. We'll go over a few of these. Kind of want to see what you guys think about it. Let me give me 1 second I want my phone to start ringing while I'm on here. So the Spencer. I want to make sure it's completely okay. All right. So I can't remember the first manager I ever seen. I can't. Wrestling is one of those things to me that it's like I just remember watching it for as long as I've been alive. I can't tell you who's the first wrestler I laid eyes on. I can't tell you the first match. I can't tell you the year, the day, how old I was. I can't tell you any of that. Because all I can really say is for as long as I remember me living, me having a memory, I've been watching wrestling. So I can't tell you what's the first manager I seen. So let's go over some of these managers where people are saying that these are some great ones. It's a list of great managers. All right, some of these I don't know how great they were. I mean, maybe they're not just memorable, and maybe that's why I don't think they're that great. All right, so one we'll go with Armando Estrada. If you guys remember Armando Estrada, he was the somewhat of like the Cuban looking guy. He was manager for guys like Umaga. I can't really remember who else he was manager for, but while he was good on the mic, I don't think his longevity was there. I remember him, but I don't really remember. He didn't really have a big impact. Was he good on the mic? Yeah, he was good on the mic. But I'm not really sure how long he really stuck around. Because honestly, I don't remember too much about him. So we'll just keep it rocking and rolling here. Oliver Humperdinck. This guy, I don't know too much about him. He's a pretty old school dude. I do somewhat remember him a little bit, but I can't remember too much about him. I think he had like encounters with like Bam Bam Bigelow. I can't remember too much about the guy. I remember he had, he kind of reminded me of like Big John Studd because he had the big red beard and the hair like Big John Studd, but he wasn't as big. But if anybody remembers Oliver Humperdinck, let me know. Because while I do vaguely remember the guy, I don't remember too much about him. But yeah, let's move on. Here's an interesting one. Okay. when they're talking about great managers of all time. They bring in Michael Hayes. Now, Michael Hayes was actually a wrestler, and there is some of these guys that were former wrestlers that turned into managers. Now, look, I wasn't a big Michael Hayes guy when he was wrestling. Fabulous Freebirds. I get it. They have a fan base. I'm not part of that fan base. I didn't care too much about them, but look, man, I guess they were huge. Now, as him as a manager. Again, I'm not really sure how much work he put in. I remember the work that he did with the Hardy Boys. If you guys remember, the Hardy Boys were not, this Team Extreme at first, man. They were somewhat of jobbers. Everybody would go over on the Hardy Boys when they first came in. I can't even really explain their style. I'm not talking about their style of wrestling. I'm talking about their ring gear. It's not too different from when they actually started changing it up. And they're like, okay, now we're Team Extreme. Now we're getting a lot of notoriety. Their style was somewhat the same, but it was different. They wore these T-shirts. I don't even really know how to explain their style, man. But they were a little bit different. And Michael Hayes, look, saludos to Michael Hayes, because Michael Hayes went there and changed these guys up. Michael Hayes dressed like Jeff and Matt, and made them a little bit more notable. And they weren't jobbers anymore. That was the start of them climbing up the ranks. So, I mean, look, he was good. Michael Hayes, I don't know how great he really was, because I outside of that, I don't know what he really did. But I definitely got to give him his flowers for putting in that work and helping one of the greatest tag teams in the Hardy Boys become the Hardy Boys that we know today. He didn't get them there, but he's the one that catapulted them a little bit, or steered them in the right direction to go to where they got to. So, Michael Hayes, man. Gotta shoot that guy a little bit of love. The Genius. Oh, the Genius. The Macho Man, Randy Savage's brother, who I saw not too long ago on an episode of Hidden Treasures, when they were trying to track down some of the Macho Man Randy Savage's stuff. One of the things that they wanted to track down was a monster truck, and they were unsuccessful. But the Genius, look, man, I do remember this guy. And while he was a wrestler, I think he was even a better manager. I mean, he did great things with like the Beverly Brothers. If you guys remember the Beverly Brothers, who remembers those guys? Mr. Perfect. So definitely got to give it to the Genius, man. He'd come out in his graduation outfit and he'd start reading. He'd get the mic, and yeah, man, he had his little clipboard there that he started reading off of. And just the way he would read and just his voice, good stuff. Another name that they got on here is Marlena. All right, so we're getting into the chicks. Marlena, also known as Terry. Okay. I'm not really sure how great she was. Very easy on the eyes. Do not get me wrong, man. I thought she was damn easy on the eyes. But was she really that good? Outside of Gold Dust, I'm not really sure what she did. And even when she was with Gold Dust, I'm not really sure what she did. She didn't have a lot of character. She was painted gold, just like Gold Dust. She looked really, really good. But I don't know, man. I don't know why they got her here on the great, on this list of great managers. I'm not really sure how many great things she really did. Here we go. Here's somebody that doesn't get mentioned. And I think he should. Harvey Whippleman. Little small, nerdy guy, glasses, suit. Man, this guy can cut a promo. I thought he was great. He was in the corner of, quite a few people, I believe, man. I think he was on the side of Giant Gonzalez. Who else? Adam Bomb, I believe, at some point. What's the name of that big black dude that always wore the glasses? But I definitely remember him. I know he did more work. It's just slipping my mind right now. But Harvey Whippleman, I do remember him. But again, the longevity, I'm not sure how long he was really around. All right, now we're getting to some good stuff. The $1 Million Man. Now, the $1 Million Man will probably never be remembered for him being a manager, but he was. He was. He managed The Undertaker, believe it or not. He managed Sid Justice. He managed quite a few people. But I don't think that the $1 Million Man will ever get recognized of how great of a manager he is because of his wrestling career. Because his character in wrestling will always be remembered. I think people are going not to forget, but they're not really going to count him as a manager because he will always be looked at as a wrestler because, like I said, his character is so memorable. They're always just going to think of him, or think of his wrestling career. But great manager, yeah, definitely. Teddy Long, Theodore Long. Look, hang on, let me take a drink of water. Okay. I was never really a fan of Teddy Long, Theodore Long. I didn't like him as a manager. He managed guys like the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. I didn't really care for him as the general manager, if you guys remember that. I just kind of liked him as a referee. As anything else, I didn't really care too much for Theodore Long. So, and honestly, man, I don't even really remember too much of his career as a manager. I do remember him as a manager, but there's not a lot there to remember other than the fact that he was a manager. Moving right along, Stephanie McMahon. I mean, do they just add her on here because she's a McMahon? I'm not really sure. She did do a lot of cool things. See, she actually did put in some work. But when I think managers, for one reason or another, she doesn't pop into my mind. And that's probably because she is a McMahon. That's probably because she's played a lot of different roles as opposed to manager, where people don't even really think about her as a manager. She was, especially alongside Triple H. Yeah. But again, it's just hard to think of her as a manager, man, because she's, she's the McMahon princess. So I'm not even really sure what to think about that. So let's move on. Yeah, now we're talking. The Doctor of Style, the Slickster. Oh, slick. Oh, nice. Man, oh man, oh man. Now we're talking about some stilo, man. If you guys think about Slick, who I'm not sure if he was the first black manager or not. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I'm trying to think as far back as I possibly can. And I'm not sure if I could think of a black manager before Slick, the Doctor of Style, the Slickster. Now, again, this is just my recollection. So who knows? Maybe there was 10, 15, 20 black managers before him. But, oh, man, the Slickster. Coming out with Akeem. One-man gang. The Warlord. Big Boss Man. Oh, dog. I mean, this guy put in some work, Holmes. I think he was manager for that tag team, Power and Glory. You guys remember that tag team with Hercules? Hercules was a solo competitor, but he teamed up with, I forgot the name of the wrestler, and they became a tag team. And I do remember the Slickster being there in their corner. So yeah, definitely, man. Definitely got to give it to the Doctor of Style, the Jive Soul, the Slickster. All right, moving along, they got Vicky Guerrero in here. Vicky has earned her flowers, regardless of what you think of her today, regardless of any drama that goes on and what you think of her, doesn't matter. I'm talking about her as a manager. She has earned her flowers, Holmes. I mean, look, it's unfortunate, what's going on, but and this is after the passing of Eddie Guerrero, who was beloved. She comes in to the company and she starts putting in work, and she's basically kind of like this cougar, right? Who's managing younger, finger quote attractive guys, right? She's there for Edge. She's there for Dolph Ziggler. She's very memorable in the whole excuse me kind of thing. So, I mean, and then later on she moved on to, other roles and everything. So, but I do give it a Vicky Guerrero, man. She was definitely putting in some work. All right, moving along, man. They got Paul Ellering. You know what, man? I don't really know. But is this dude, should he really be mentioned? Look, shout outs to him. Okay, I got no beef with the guy. But can anybody tell me what he did? He managed Legion of Doom for I don't know, a very short period of time. And to tell you guys the truth, Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, they didn't even really need a manager, homie. They were already over. And they weren't that bad on the mic. So Paul Ellering, it's like, when it was happening, I was kind of like, okay, why? It's so unneeded. It's basically just so this guy can have a job or something, man. I got no idea, because Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, they didn't need no manager. But moving along, let's go to Miss Elizabeth. Okay, you know what? Actually, let me see. No. Let's skip her. Let's go ahead and let's skip her. We're going to come back to her. Let's go with Sunny. Oh, you guys remember Sunny? Who does not remember Sunny? At that time, when she first came in, depending on your taste, but Sunny was, to most people, the most attractive woman in wrestling when she first came in. Afterwards, you had a lot of attractive hyenas. Some people might say it was Sable. Okay. But Sunny goes down in history like as one of the, or the first, or not the first, but the most attractive woman at that time in wrestling. How great of a manager was she? She was just eye candy. I mean, she did some work, don't get me wrong. Mainly with tag teams, right? You guys remember like the Godwins, Smoking Guns. She was even, you know what? Speaking of Legion of Doom, she was even with Legion of Doom for a second or two. I think with the new Legion of Doom, I think Hawk had already passed away. I might be wrong on that, but I do remember her coming out with Legion of Doom. I remember when she first came out, it was with with that full skip. Remember they're the Body Donnas? And I don't know how great of a manager she was. But she was definitely eye candy, especially at that time. But let's move forward. Okay, now we're getting to some big names. And this is why I wanted to wait on Miss Elizabeth. Because whenever we talk managers, certain names get brought up. And now we're going to go ahead and get to the top dogs. All right. So let's go ahead and let's get to the top dogs, which is why I'm going to go ahead and talk about Miss Elizabeth before we get to the top dogs, because Miss Elizabeth goes down as one of the greatest managers of all time. And I'm here to tell you, cha les, homie. No, she is not. The work she did with the Macho Man, with the Hulkster, I don't see it. I don't see it. She did add story to it. I will give you that. But the Macho Man's the Macho Man, and the Hulkster's the Hulkster, man. They had no need for her. She had little to no character. Even when she went to WCW and she was heel, still wasn't all that great. But now I'm going to get to some real top names. Mr. Fuji, Jim Cornette, Paul Bearer, Sensational Sherry, Captain Lou, Freddie Blassie, Jimmy Hart, Paul Heyman, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Okay, these, in my opinion, are the elite of elite when it comes to managers. Whenever you're going to talk about managers, these are the ones you're going to talk about. Now, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate some of these right off the bat because while they are up there, they're not in the rest of the league. The first one I'm going to eliminate is Paul Bearer. Yes, he was great. Yes, his character is very memorable. Most of his work was with The Undertaker. He did do some work with Kane. He did some work with Mankind. And his character was really good. And he did add to the storylines. But, I mean, when I really think about it, can I really put him up there with some of these other guys? No, not really. I think he even did some work, if I'm not mistaken, with Vader. But definitely one of the top dogs. Okay, I'm just going to eliminate him from the rest of the names that I just named. The next one that I'm going to eliminate, although great, but I'm going to eliminate him, Mr. Fuji. A lot of people love Mr. Fuji, thinks he's one of the best. I'm not going to disagree and say that he's not one of the best, but check this out, man. Mr. Fuji added character, yes. Not that great on the mic. Not really his fault because English isn't his first language. Did some work with Demolition, Powers of Pain. Yokozuna, probably the most notable work that he did. What's up, G Funky? So now we're just eliminating the greats, and he's the next one on the chopping block for me, at least. So out of the top greats, I just got rid of Paul Bearer, and I just got rid of Mr. Fuji. Great managers. But we got to narrow this down. Now, some people are going to disagree here. Okay? And that's all right. That's okay. Now I'm eliminating Jim Cornette. Now, some people are going to say, wait a second, Holmes. You're putting Jim Cornette on the level of Paul Bearer and Mr. Fuji? Yeah, I am. While his run was not long, man, it was memorable. You should come out with the tennis racket. And if you guys remember, he was actually co-manager with Mr. Fuji managing Yokozuna. But he managed so many others. I think he did he do work with Midnight Express, I believe it was. British Bulldogs. Trying to get in my think tank here. But he was very memorable. And one of the things that sticks out about Jim Cornette, when it came to Yokozuna, right? Like they had Mr. Fuji alongside with Yokozuna to make it believable that Yokozuna was Japanese, even though he's not. But the thing is, Mr. Fuji couldn't really cut a promo. And if you're going to make it believable that Yokozuna doesn't speak English because he's from the land of the rising sun, which he's not, then you can't have him speaking English. And Mr. Fuji can't really speak English either. They bring in Jim Cornette, and this guy grabs the mic and he goes off, man. And he does a great job. Yeah, he managed Midnight Express. Oh, yeah. a matter of fact, if you want to jump on here, G. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty with some of these guys. So, Jim Cornette, man, I definitely got to put him up there, man, in the category of the Paul Bears and the Mr. Fuji's. So out of this list of greats, man, we're getting down to it's getting harder and harder. But the next one that I'm going to eliminate on here. Some people have this guy as number 1. Captain Lou. You guys remember Captain Lou? How can you not? I mean, this dude actually looked like he lived on a sailboat out in the ocean. And he did a lot of great work, man. A lot of great work. Pat Patterson, Don Moronco, Greg the Hammer Valentine. He did a lot of work, man. Wild Samoans, Blackjacks, British Bulldogs. His resume speaks for itself. And can this guy cut a promo? Yeah, he does. And you know what? He doesn't even need a mic. His mouth is so damn loud. But he was great. He was great. For those that have him number 1, there's Spencer, homie. I don't. I do not. All right. So now let me go ahead and read off the names that we're left with. All right. We're left with Bobby the Brain Heenan, Paul Heyman, Jimmy Hart, the classy Freddie Blassie, Sensational Sherry. That's the list that we're left with. Some people don't like it. Some people are going to say, like, nah, what's Sherry doing on there? Oh, we'll get to her. We'll get to her. Do I think she's better than Captain Lou? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do. So let me get out of these names. Let me get to the next one that I'm going to eliminate. So what do we got? Let me see. Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we got 5 left. And this one's going to be real hard. And for all you old school mofos, you're going to hate me. And that's all right, man. That is okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to eliminate the classy Freddie Blassie. There's Spencer. To all you old school gray-haired mofos, I think he's great. I think he did a lot of great work alongside with Nikolai Volkov, alongside with the Iron Sheik. I mean, this guy has done so much great work. I have to eliminate somebody. And it's going to be him. Now, maybe it's not even his fault. But the time that he was around it, it was definitely a different time. Maybe if he would have came out as a manager, 10, 15 years later, who knows, man? Maybe he would be number 1 for me. I like Freddie Blassie. I do, man. All you pencil neck geeks. But I got to get rid of somebody, Holmes. And he's that somebody. So now we're down to the last 4. And in my opinion, this is the Mount Rushmore of wrestling managers. These 4 names for me, is the Mount Rushmore. Bobby the Brain Heenan, Paul Heyman, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, and Sensational Sherry. Those, to me, are the four best, the Mount Rushmore when it comes to managers. You want to replace one of those with somebody like Captain Lou or Freddie Blassie or Mr. Fuji, Paul Bearer, anybody of those, that's fine. That's your Mount Rushmore, not mine. This is my Mount Rushmore. If I had to eliminate somebody from that Mount Rushmore to get to a number one, first of all, I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these four being the top dogs. But if I have to, if I absolutely just have to, it's tough. It is tough. But I'm probably going to have to eliminate Sensational Sherry. Now, let me talk about Sensational Sherry, man, okay? Because I've been looking at a few lists, and most lists have Miss Elizabeth higher ranking than Sensational Sherry. Are you nuts? Serio, are you insane? You have Miss Elizabeth that has little to no character over Sensational Sherry based on what? She managed who? The Macho Man? That guy was already over. He didn't need a manager. The Mega Powers? That's Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage. They don't need no manager to get over. They don't need no mouthpiece. And she wasn't even a mouthpiece. What great promos did Miss Elizabeth cut? I didn't want to hear what she had to say because she didn't really have much to say. Give the mic to the Macho Man. But Sensational Sherry, see, this Hyena has grit, Holmes. This Hyena's got character. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but she was a wrestler once upon a time. But she'll always be remembered for being a manager because she was that damn good. And she is on my Mount Rushmore of managers of all time. She earned that. She was there with the Macho Man as well. Should she get credit for that the way Miss Elizabeth does? Sure, you could even argue that she was getting bigger than the Macho Man. But she was there with $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. How about Shawn Michaels when he went solo? When he became the Heartbreak Kid? Son of a bastard. Are you kidding me? Do you remember the entrance when they will get into the ring? HBK, you know, he still does it today. He extends one leg out and bends the other knee, and then he flexes, right? He flexes his muscles. Okay. When Sherry was there, he would do the same thing, but before he did that, he would grab her from the hair, throw her to the ground, and she'd have this look on her face like, yeah, I love it. And she'd just pose on the ground, laying on her side, with her arm, her elbow folded up, with her hand on her cheek, as Shawn Michaels does the HBK pose. The song right now, the HBK song, it's him singing. But, If you guys remember, originally that song was with her singing. She moves on to WCW, does some work with Harlem Heat. This chick was huge, man, no matter where she went. May she rest in peace. The late, great, and in my manager, Mount Rushmore, Sensational Sherri. All right, so we got 3 left, man. We got Jimmy Hart, Paul Heyman, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Okay, again, this is getting very, very hard, but if I'm going to eliminate somebody, it's going to be the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Nothing wrong with him, just like there's nothing wrong with Sensational Sherri, but I got to get rid of somebody. And I'm going to go with Jimmy Hart. Did a lot of great work. I really don't know who he did the best work with, because he did good work with just about everybody that he worked with. The Honky Tonk Man, the Hart Foundation. He did work with the immortal Hulk Hogan and Bruce the Barber Beefcake. He did some great work. He'll always be remembered from bringing out that freaking, what's it called? That big old, shoot, I forgot what it's called. It was just on the tip of my tongue, too. Well, a big old mic, right? And just start yelling and just start laughing. Yeah, baby. Great, great work. And by the way, his outfits were top notch. He would always, for the most part, match. He still kept his stilo. Never changed his style. Always wearing the shades. And, what he would wear was always just about the same style. The only thing that would change is the colors. He, for the most part, made sure that he matched. That he matched whoever he was managing that night. How you doing, Vanessa? Yeah, I say that a lot. I try to avoid the other term. Shout outs to the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. So we're down to 2. Again, it's a Mount Rushmore for me. So for me, the last 4 are all top dogs. But again, we're going down to just 1. And all we got left is Bobby the Brain Heenan and Paul Heyman. There's no wrong answer here. Maybe to you guys there is. But hey, what have you. So the next one I'm going to eliminate is Bobby the Brain Heenan. Again, probably going to disagree with me on that. That's fine, man. Again, to me, there's really no wrong answer. Bobby the Brain Heenan is probably right now the most memorable manager ever. And rightfully so. He earned that. Working, with guys like the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Ravishing Rick Rude, Andre the Giant. This guy, if you want to put him number 1, I have no issue. I'm not going to argue. Because he is that damn good. I love Bobby the Brain Heenan. Again, my Mount Rushmore is Paul Heyman, Sensational Sherri, Jimmy Hart, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. That's my Mount Rushmore. I think they are the 4 best ever. But if we're going to go down to 1, I got Bobby the Brain Heenan as 2nd. And like I said, right now, he's probably the most memorable ever to do it. Now, why is he the most memorable ever to do it? Well, because his career is over and his career has been over. That's why he's the most memorable. However, if we fast forward 20 years from now, the one who I believe is going to go down as the greatest ever. See, you can't put him as the greatest ever while they're doing it. Just doesn't really work that way for most people. But see, I'm able to see it while it's happening. Paul Heyman is my number one. This guy is so damn good. He has now separated himself from just being remembered as, oh, all he did was manage Brock Lesnar. At some point, I was starting to get a little upset and saying like, you know what? Is he really going to be that great of a manager? Because all he does is just manage Brock Lesnar. That's it. That's all he does. That's all he's going to be remembered for. But he has done so much more. Where now Brock Lesnar is just part of his career. Now let's all acknowledge our tribal chief. But take a look at the right side of the screen and take a look at Paul Heyman. Look at his facial expression. Look how much he adds, how much he's so invested in the story. Take a look at Paul Heyman right here. Damn, homie. Damn, talk about buying it. You just take one look at Paul Heyman right there in that footage and you're like, wow, this guy really, truly does worship his tribal chief. But because he's still active, nobody's going to put him at number one. Well, guess what? This Vato is. Is Bobby the Brain Heenan that damn good? Yes, he is. Absolutely. Sensational Sherry, badass. One of the greatest ever. The Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, of course. Yes. Those four are on my Mount Rushmore. Absolutely. But if I had to pick one, just one, it'd be Paul Heyman. 20 years from now, mark my words, 20 years from now, once he's retired, possibly even passed away, hey, man, one thing that we're all promised is death, okay? I don't know how old he is, but who knows? Maybe 20 years from now, he's probably not even with us anymore. I don't know. Whether he is or isn't, that is not the point. What I'm talking about is once he's retired, and maybe when he's retired, fast forward maybe about, I don't know, 5-10 years, they're going to name Paul Heyman. Now everybody's going to appreciate Paul Heyman. Right now, they're not giving Paul Heyman his flowers. And I completely understand that because it's hard to give somebody their flowers while they're still active. I get it. But if you ask me, who is the greatest of all time? There's 4 answers that I'm not going to argue with you with. But there's only really one answer for me. If you tell me Bobby the Brain Heenan, I'm not going to argue with you. The Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, not going to argue with you. Sensational Sherry, not going to argue with you. Even if you bring up the classy Freddie Blassie, I'm probably not even going to argue with you. That's fine. But they're all retired. They're all done. Heck, you know what? They're all passed away except for the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. But if you ask me who is the greatest manager of all time, it is Paul Heyman. And nobody's going to admit it because he's still active. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Bessie Benny? Let me see. Sorrow. Oh, shoot. Punk, to me, is the greatest manager in pro wrestling. Remember how many wrestlers he has pushed through the years. He has a very big impact on the business. Son of a gun. Holy smokes, man. You know, I remember I asked this question to another wrestling fan. Okay. And I was like, hey, who is one of the greatest or the greatest managers of all time? This douchebag names me two names, right? Like, and he's putting some thought to it too. That's the part that kind of made me think, okay, this guy's this guy's a blithering idiot. Like, how stupid are you? He's unloading my trailer. And he's all like, oh, man, let me think about it. Let me think about it. I'm like, okay, cool, dog. Think about it. I don't need to think about it. I could come up with a few names. Now, this guy is a real, actual wrestling fan. We talk about wrestling. He knows his wrestling. If you ask me, I mean, I could come up with I just bust out with Bobby the Brain Heenan. I just bust out with, classy Freddie Blassie. I just bust out with Paul Heyman. I just bust out with Sensational Sherry, Jimmy Hart. But this guy actually put some thought about it or thought into it. And he's all like, okay, I got a few for you. And I'm like, all right, cool. What's up, dog? See, I'm kicking this vato's tires. Yeah, sure, you know wrestling. Okay. But how smart are you when it comes to wrestling? You guys want to hear the names that this douchebag threw at me when it came to greatest managers of all time? He threw at me two names. Daniel. Hey, Daniel, I talked about him earlier, man. Pretty much when I started this, I talked about him. He wasn't bad on the mic. He didn't have longevity, man. But this dumbass throws at me Teddy Long and Stacy Keibler. Theodore Long and Stacy Keibler. Homie, what the are you talking about? You had time to think about who is or some of the greatest managers of all time, and you come at me with Teddy Long and Stacy Keibler? What are you, an idiot? Get off of the forklift, Holmes. I don't want you unloading my trailer. You're stupid. Who in the hell has time to think of names? And this isn't a casual, by the way. He's not a casual. He knows wrestling. I've been talking wrestling with this dude. He's not a casual. And it's not like, hey, man, he just had a brain freeze or something. Like, it was just like, hey, right now, right on the spot, give me a name. This dumbass had time to think, and he comes at me with Stacy Keibler. What the flying flip are you talking about, dog? Teddy Long? What in the? Are you picking? It's so dumb, dog. Are you picking Teddy Long just because affirmative action? Are you trying to give a little bit of love to the ladies? So you pick Stacy Keibler? Like, hey, man, hey, he is a white dude. Okay, he is a white guy. So I don't know. Is he just, his white male guilt? He's all like, oh man, I better throw in a brother in there. Oh man, I don't want to be looked at as a male chauvinist, evil Mr. White Man. Let me throw in a chick. I did not want this dumbass unloading my trailer anymore. Por favor, dog, you're too stupid to operate a forklift. Because hey, Holmes, if that were it, if your white guilt is taking over you and you want to pick out a brother, get the slickster, homie. Get the doctor of style, the slickster. If you want to pick a hyena, sensational Sherry, homeboy. Stacy Keibler, what the oh my goodness, dog. Wow. Look, I don't really talk to him anymore because he got another job. This was a few years ago. Let me see. Cholo was doing the dance in the cab afterward. Theodore Long was horrible, dog. He wasn't good. Let me holler at you, player. Okay, that's laughable. Spider, you know what, dog? It was so I was caught so off guard, homie. I couldn't even laugh. I just looked at him with this just dull look in my face, like, are you just like serio, dog? Like, what's the matter with you? And thing was, he wasn't joking. Like, he gave it to me like it was serious answers. Like, I couldn't. That was it, dog. Like, it just I didn't want to talk wrestling with this guy anymore. It was over, dog. That my conversations with this douchebag was never the same after that. And not too long after that, apparently he got another job, which I'm not really sure he did. I kind of think he got fired, which is good. Good, fire his ass. Go think longer and harder about great managers in wrestling. Yeah, Spider, yes. And I talked about him earlier. The $1 Million Man, you know what? He will probably never go down as a great manager because most people are going to think about his wrestling career. But when he was a manager, hey, he was actually good. Wish I could remember this guy's name. What the hell was his name? I think it started with an S. It wasn't Sam. Shoot. Regardless, he should remain nameless. Oh, if he got it together and he could come at me with some real good answers now, I forgive him. But if he's still stuck on Stacy Keibler, Stacy Keibler, Stacy Keibler. Oh man, I don't know if I should be laughing or crying. Stacy Keebler. Oh wow, dog. Oh man. I appreciate that, Vanessa. Stacy Keebler. Put a complaint like a Karen of wrestling. If I would, I could. I said, Benny, if I would, I could. I don't know who to complain to. But if I would, I could. For this guy to bring up Stacy Keebler and Theodore Long. Oh, man. Oh, damn it. Anyway, Hans, I'm going to go ahead and end it right there. I know a couple people just jumped on right now, man, but I've been at it for over an hour. I know some news broke down in the wrestling world today. I will make a video solo on that because I want to respect the man and he deserves a video on his own. With all that being said, there you guys have it. There's all the managers. There was a list of top 20 something, and I went ahead and I went through all of them. Maybe there's some on that list that you guys probably think that should be on that list or are that are not on that list that maybe should get mentioned. That's cool, man. I'm open to that. But however, to me, my Mount Rushmore of the greatest managers of all time is Bobby the Brain, and in no particular order, with the exception of Paul Heyman being number one. But Paul Heyman, Sensational Sherry, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, and Bobby the Brain Heenan, with Classy Freddie Blassie just being right outside of there, But for damn sure, someone who doesn't even deserve to look at the Mount Rushmore is Theodore Long and Stacy Keibler. That's for damn sure. They don't even they don't even have the privilege, the honor to look in that direction. That's for sure. Solo Trucker Wrestling Rehab. I'll catch you guys on next one.
And I'll hold it one time.